Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
Oh, yeah. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, my friends and fans of the Boxing Breakdown? How are you doing today? This is your host, Mark Roxey, and I am delighted that you're here today. For y'all that are tuning in for the first time, welcome, welcome. And for those of you that have listened to all the podcasts, thanks for tuning in. And I am excited about this week's podcast because I have a really intriguing guest again this week. I don't know if you heard last week's podcast, but I interviewed Thomas Lamanna, and I found that podcast to be quite compelling and very telling. And he was so authentic in the interview that it really got me thinking about, what guest I would have on next week to kind of, follow up on some of the thoughts and things that Cornflake Lamanna was talking about. And so I am delighted this week to tell you about my guest. And hopefully you're like, who's it going to be? Well, because you already saw the podcast flyer or the invite to listen to the podcast. And so I'm not going to hold it off any longer. I'm just going to get right to it, right? My next guest this week is Adrian Clark. Yes, Adrian Clark, the entrepreneur. So for those of you that don't know who Adrian Clark is, people, you should know who Adrian Clark is. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the guy, and then we're going to invite him into the studio, and we're going to get chopping on some really powerful discussion. So Adrian began his entrepreneurial journey in 2012 by creating AC Sports Management, LLC. By 2016, his innovation and prowess in the boxing industry earned him a spot on the Forbes 30 Under 30 sports list. In 2019, AC Sports was acquired by Dallas-based sports agency Ballengee Group. Clark has managed various clients including Jerry Belmontes, James De La Rosa, Willie Monroe Jr., Frank Galarza, and many more. So check this out. Adrian Clark has also worked closely with Jarrell Big Baby Miller and currently works with welterweight champion Errol Spence. He previously worked as a certified agent for the National Basketball Players Association, the NBPA, from 2012 to 2014. Adrian Clark is also an author, producer, and boxing manager. Well, previous boxing manager, and he'll talk a little bit about that. Adrian has recently joined the Fight Network organization as a consultant, and primarily he was invited to be a consultant there to develop original programming and strategic partnerships with a strong focus on professional and amateur boxing content, as well as supporting social media and community growth across Fight Network's digital and social platforms. Clark was honored by Forbes in their 30 Under 30 in sports. And that alone is a huge achievement for Adrian. Clark has also published several books, including A Guide for Young Entrepreneurs, Boxing Equals Life, Dark Horse, and the book that inspired me to invite him in this week, Protect Yourself at All Times, A Guide for Professional Boxers. So listen up, professional boxers. This episode is for you. And for those of you that are amateurs out there looking to turn professional, this is the time for you to get this book and for you to really know about Adrian Clark and about the intricacies of turning pro. So Clark, launched his Protect Yourself at All Times initiative way back in 2016, including a book, a podcast, and a video blog, which you can find on YouTube. Everlast, the worldwide leading manufacturer, marketing, and licensor of boxing, MMA, and fitness equipment, partnered with Mr. Clark in 2018 to launch the first ever Protect Yourself at All Times Symposium, an educational tool for fighters and their families whose purpose is to educate and inform professional boxers on the nature of the business in boxing. Clark is and will be developing a concept that basically his Protect Yourself at All Times concept is going to be developed as a series for the Fight Network, which I think is just incredible. What a service to the boxing community. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're going to get right to this. And I hope you guys love this. Please share this podcast with fellow boxers, amateurs looking to turn professional. Please share it out with everybody that can benefit from the information that we're going to share this week. And know, right, that the Boxing Breakdown is really about giving you the insight into what's going on in the sport and better ways to be in the sport. And most importantly, a way to navigate through it and make the sport better. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome into the studio the entrepreneur, Mr. Adrian Clark. Hello, hello, hello. Is this Adrian Clark?
Hey, man. How are you doing?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good, brother. I can't complain, man. How are you doing?
I'm fine. It's a wonderful, brisk fall day on the East Coast, and I'm fine. I'm just happy to be alive, you know? How about you?
Same, man. Happy to be alive, and, just living the dream, man. This 215, this is Philadelphia, correct?
Yeah, right outside Philly. You already know. Yeah, what's up, Philly? Shout out, Philly. Yeah, man. I'm about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia, Center City, and then about an hour and a half from New York.
Okay, good deal. So I just want to make sure I got my as far as like geography right. So I flew into Philly once, and it took me like an hour to get to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Which direction was I headed?
Yeah, so you were headed south. So when you landed in Philadelphia Airport, you crossed the bridge and went right into New Jersey, and then you went basically due south. Actually southeast, yeah. And
okay.
So you went to Atlantic City. I'm actually the opposite direction. I'm more like northwest of east of Philadelphia. Due east of Philadelphia, so closer to New York. And then, so I'm right on the border of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, right on the Delaware River.
Man, it trips me out, like how, you guys can drive an hour or two and be outside of the respective state. But in Texas, like you can drive 12 hours and still be in the state of Texas, depending on where you're at, man. So it's fascinating to me how you guys can go an hour or two and you've passed through 2 or 3 different states, but here 2 hours is nothing in Texas. You're still in the heart of Texas for 2 hours. So it's fascinating to hear.
Yeah, yo, do you know that it takes me 5 minutes and I'm across the river? 5 minutes, I'm over in New
Wow.
Jersey. 5 minutes, I'm in PA. 5 minutes, I'm in New Jersey. Yeah, I cross the river every single day. So, yeah, I'm right on the Delaware River. So, New Jersey and PA, man, and you gotta observe both of the laws. You know, the laws are so drastically different in each state. You know.
Right. True.
Yeah.
True.
Well, listen,
No, man.
Adrian.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate you reaching out and setting this up, man. This is gonna be really dope.
Well, I have to tell you, it's a distinct honor, bro, because I've wanted to do this for the longest time. I've been a big, I've been a big fan and a follower. I mean, you know that I've followed.
Right.
I've been from day one when you launched your first book. You know, your very, very first book, Protect Yourself at All Times. That was the first book, right?
No, actually, that was my second one.
That was your
always my second one. Yeah, the first one. Yeah, the first one is titled "A Guide for Young Entrepreneurs."
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was my first one.
Yeah. Well, your first. So that was your first book. You got me on your radar when I read the book, Protect Yourself at All Times. I'm a manager, a trainer. I actually am involved in entertainment. So I've been in entertainment for probably about 50 years. It's been my entire life. So I'm pretty much embedded in theater, in the entertainment industry, television, that kind of, that's my background. That's my profession, what I do normally. But my passion, of course, has been since I was a little child, boxing, fighting and training for now, as an adult now, training fighters. And, like I always say, like I don't need I need another job. Like I need a hole in the head. When I refer to myself as a manager, what I'm really saying is that I am in the corner of the fighter, of the athlete all the time, whatever that means, So whether some people call it an advisor, some people call themselves a manager, some people just call them a friend, but in the end, when you take that job on, when I refer to it, I'm referring it to it as, really having a keen interest in the fighter and making sure that the fighter can succeed on all levels in all areas. So when I say manager, that's what I mean. And I know that's what you mean because you did it and you've done it for many years now. But I'm just so fascinated by all the things that you're doing, and you're a very inspirational human being. And if you sit, I've done a lot, for those of you that are listening in, Boxing Breakdown, fellow boxing fans, and, please get out there and check out the book, Protect Yourself at All Times, the guide for young entrepreneurs. There's so many things. My goodness, you got another book, Boxing Equals Life. You've got The Dark Horse, which is, about boxing management. And, your credentials are just, you putting it together like a world champ is what I'm saying. You just putting it all the little pieces right where they belong. You've got your podcast series. You've got your YouTube. Your presence is super sharp. I hear you're coming out with a new. So these are the things I want to talk to you about. So I'm kind of doing a little contents here. I got a little content I'm laying out here about all the things I want to talk to you about because you're just really incredible. So how did you get, first of all, where did you grow up? Let's start with that. Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Dallas, Texas, man. I'm an inner city kid, man. I grew up in Pleasant Grove, which is the southeast side of Dallas, and boxing is not really. It wasn't big when I was growing up, as far as like the city goes. In Texas, football is king. So if you're gonna make it out as a young black kid in Texas, they really point you towards either football or basketball, man. So that was really what I was doing as a kid, man. But it was my brother who actually introduced me to boxing, and he's my older brother, so he would beat me up all the time. So I had to learn how to fight/box dealing with my brother, man. But it all started in Dallas, Texas, man.
Adrian, I have an older brother. Shout out Ronald Roxey. That's my brother. And he's a big guy, man. He's like 300 and something pounds. And we used to fight when we were kids. We fought each other. We would go out into the street and fight everybody, bro. Everybody. Yo, shout out Brooklyn. I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Clinton Hill, Brooklyn, Brownsville. Y'all know, everybody knows the Roxy's over there. we used to be crazy, but so I had an older brother, man. He threw me in the closets and stuff like that. So I know exactly what it's like growing up with an older physical brother.
Right.
So did he introduce you to the boxing gym? Did he bring you there?
No, it was like what's crazy. We didn't, growing up. I'm 34, man. So growing up, the late '90s, like early 2000s, man. I didn't know of a boxing gym in Dallas, man. So we really just did our fighting with just gloves on in the driveway of our parents' home or in the middle of the street. Like that was the boxing gym for us. So honestly, I didn't look towards boxing until my brother died in 2006, and I was kind of in a space to where like I didn't know what direction I was going. I didn't know if I was coming or going. And my dad always told me, in life, man, you either build or destroy, and it goes for yourself also, man. Like you either build or destroy based off of things that happen in your life, man. So I had a decision to make, and I end up getting accepted to Texas A&M down in Corpus Christi, which is about 7 hours south of Dallas. It's closer to Mexico. And once I got down to Corpus, I had things to figure out, and I would see a lot of people working out and running. And I saw one guy, punch in the air, but he was shadow boxing. I didn't know it was shadow boxing at the time. And he told me that he was an amateur fighter, and he had a gym he went to in Corpus, and that's how it all started for me, man. But I dedicate my entire career, man, from amateur to becoming a boxing manager. Like everything is dedicated to my brother, because if it wasn't for him teaching me how to fight and showing me, what fighting meant, I never would have had the balls to step inside of a boxing gym, man. So everything that I do is for my brother.
That's incredible, man. That makes it even more powerful. It's so profound that your brother would have that kind of influence on you, and then you would go on to do all the things that you've done and continue to do. And so first of all, I just want to give you my condolences for your brother. Losing a sibling is one of the hardest things, to go through in life, especially for a young man. But you've really, managed to allow his wings to really propel you into your life, and it's just so powerful, and so such a pleasure to hear that and to know that you've been able to do great things, because of that, because a lot of people would not. So I
appreciate the kind words, man. I appreciate it.
Oh man, my pleasure. And then I wanted to ask you, how did you become a manager? How did that happen? Like
So I fought in the amateurs in college, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a very good amateur. I was 21, my first time stepping in the ring, like learning actually how to properly jab and footwork and things of that nature. So I was way behind. I talk about in Dark Horse. Yeah, I talk about in my memoirs as a boxing manager. I talk about the first time I got in the ring, and I was sparring against a 15-year-old. And I thought, since I knew how to fight, I figured that I would take this kid to school. But I definitely, Pete, his name is Pete Gudetto. He had been fighting, man, since he was like 4 years old. So he had a huge advantage over me, and he taught me a lesson that day over 2 rounds, man. I got he kicked me all over the ring, so I got a good lesson there. But I thought at one point that I wanted to be a professional boxer, but just the more I competed in the Golden Glove tournaments and the different losses, I'm like, man, like I love the sport. I love training and getting ready and, just kind of, preparing my mental to be the best. But
Right.
I just felt that I was better suited on the business side of things. And, I was earning my undergraduate degree. So I was like, man, I'll be damned if I get, I'm going to college all these years and the stress that it's weighing in on me. I'd be damned if I go get punched in the face for a living when I'm getting a degree to handle business. So
Right.
I actually didn't want to be, I didn't know what exactly a boxing manager did. So I started off as a sports agent because one of my close friends was an NBA player at the time. So he gave me an opportunity to come live with him in Utah while he was playing for the Utah Jazz. So
Right.
I kind of had an internship with him. And I became a sports agent, and I was learning the ropes of, what it's like to represent a professional athlete and the different seminars I went to for the NBA.
Right.
But, all of that was really just preparing me to become a boxing manager because later on that year, I became a boxing manager. Jerry Belmontes, who's known as the Corpus Christi Kid.
I remember him. I remember him.
Yeah, that's my guy. He remembered me from the amateurs. He came to a couple of the amateur tournaments in Corpus, and he watched me fight. And then he found out I was representing pro athletes, and he had just lost his manager at the time. And he called me and asked me would I represent him. And even though I didn't know what the hell I was doing, we figured it out, man. So that's how I got my start, man. It wasn't an aim for me to be a boxing manager. It's just I kind of was just pulled into it.
Yeah, you just kind of fell into it and learned the ropes as you went along. Right. That's incredible.
I learned on the fly, man. Every year it was like I just learned on the fly. Like I tried to have other managers help me out and stuff like that, and no one wanted to lend a hand, man. No one either they didn't respond to emails or just didn't want to give me the time of day, man. So I had to really learn everything on the fly, and a lot of mistakes here and there, man. But that's how I really learned, and it was a good 9 years.
What I love about that, Adrian, is that the purest form of being involved in the sport is kind of like, I'm going to help this guy out and I'm going to manage this guy just to help him. And that gives you the best intro and the best lane to learn the sport, right? Versus like, yo, I need this money, man. And I gotta get a fighter. So it's a different kind of manager, Right. So I hear that in your story and how you guys, came together. And then, so how long did that go? How long did you manage him? And then what did you do after that?
So Jerry, I started representing Jerry when he was 11 and 0, and he had just got dropped from Top Rank. And the next move was, he hired me, and then I got him signed with Main Events, who, Kathy Du was the owner.
Yeah,
and
shout out Main Events.
Shout out definitely to Main Events, and Jolie Mazzone was really big in getting Jerry on board. But then, after he lost to Eric Hunter, and actually in Philadelphia, we fought at Temple University.
Yeah, at the Leocore Center.
Right. He suffered his first loss to Eric Hunter, and then Main Events dropped him, and then I ended up signing him with Golden Boy promotion shortly after that. And, he was on and off with Golden Boy. He ended up making it to a world title against Omar Figueroa, which I think, he controversially lost that fight.
Yeah.
And I managed Jerry all the way to the end of his career. We just kind of spiraled after the Figueroa fight, man, and took a lot of losses, unnecessary losses.
Yeah.
But I taught Jerry so much about the business to where he didn't need me to manage him anymore. Like Jerry was getting his own fights. Like he was contacting people, getting his own fights, and just contacting me, making sure he wasn't getting screwed on the money.
Right.
But Jerry really managed himself. Like the last probably 4 fights of his career was really Jerry doing his thing. So, Jerry was really my learning curve, man. Like as far as starting off goes, and it was a good experience for me. And from Jerry, I just continuously moved up as far as like the caliber of fighters that I represented and advised, and it was good, man. It was a good 9 years.
Right. Like, so some other, just for the fans out there so that they get a reference of exactly who we're talking to here, who Adrian Clark is. Who else did you manage? Who are you
Oh,
managing, or who
oh,
are you advising after
okay.
that? And even
Yeah.
now?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, after Jerry, it was James De La Rosa, and James is really famous for he upset Alfredo Angulo he opened up the pay-per-view telecast of Mayweather Maidana
Yeah.
rematch.
He spanked him
So
good.
that was a huge right. Yeah, that was a huge win for James. And after James came Willie Monroe Jr. and I started helping out Willie after he'd lost to Triple G. So, you know, we got Willie back rolling. We re-signed a deal with Banner Promotions, and we had 3 fights together. It was John Thompson, Gabe Rosado, which was the co-main event to Canelo and Liam Smith here in Dallas.
Right.
And then he fought Billy Joe Saunders for a world title over in London. And then after Willie, was Frank Galarza. They call him the Brooklyn Rocky. And I got Frank signed with Main Events, and he put 3 good wins together, and he ended up losing a fight. They ended up losing the fight on ESPN, and he's kind of been inactive from there. And most famously, people know that I advised Jarrell Big Baby Miller, who is now in a little bit of trouble with the drug test, and
Right.
of course the unified welterweight champion of the world, Errol Spence Jr. I still do work for Errol Spence in regards to his endorsement deals with Everlast and whatever else that makes sense in regards to big business for him. I help out a lot. So
he's got a big one
those
coming
are the
up.
guys that those are the guys that I've helped out throughout my career. And currently, I'm now on the television side of things. I don't manage fighters anymore.
Right.
I'm now on the television side of things, and you know, Protect Yourself at All Times is going to be a 7-part series, a TV show that I'm putting together right now with the Fight Network, which is based out of Canada, and it's a 24-hour like sports channel. They're really known for Impact Wrestling, but they have a Thursday night like fight deal with Golden Boy Promotions, and of course they do Glory Kickboxing, and a couple of behind the scenes MMA shows, man. But now I'm on the television side of things now, so
that's what's up.
I'm helping out different managers and stuff like that, just trying to make sure that I'm not doing what was done to me as far as like guys not willing to help out or just give advice.
Right.
I promised myself that I wouldn't be that guy, man. So like guys reach out for help or advice, man. I don't care if I've never heard of them before in my life.
Yeah.
I'm always going to take time to respond to a message or, you know, send back an email or whatever, because I never wanted guys to go through the BS that I went through by not getting help and not getting just a little bit of advice to move forward.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I remember when I first connected with you, it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I got your book. You know, I was like, and I had to message you, and I said, you know, dude, I read your book, man. The book is fascinating. You're doing an incredible service to the fighters, and I'm just, you know, you're a man after my own heart. I really, you know, I really have the same sentiment about. That's the reason that I'm in boxing, is because I really want to make a difference, right? I want to make a difference in the lives of the fighters and give them a chance and have them have the knowledge that they otherwise would not have. Oftentimes, they just come to the sport. And I wanted to touch on that because, you know, we could talk about all this stuff that you're doing, and, you know, even the Fight Network of stuff. That's phenomenal, man. It's incredible. But what I really want to do for the next, you know, couple minutes here is really get into the Protect Yourself at All Times. The reason you came up with the idea to write the book, and then what the basic principles are of the book, and why is it so important for the fighters who are listening to this program to go out there and get that book?
Got you. Well, you know, I was planning a symposium like maybe 2016, January 2016. I was planning a symposium, man, and I wrote everything out on the dry erase board, and I just finished my first book, which was coming out in February. So I thought I was done writing books, but Now, I sat back and I was just looking at the dry erase board and with all the information of what I wanted to do for the symposium, and I was kind of just staring at it, and I was like, wait, like this looks more so like a book than it does a symposium.
Yes.
So I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote down everything that was on the dry erase board, and I was like, I can't believe this. I actually just wrote another book unintentionally. So that's how it actually started, man.
Wow.
It was going to be a symposium, but now after I looked at it, I'm like, yo, I can actually turn this into a book. And that's what I did. And, I think things would have taken off further. I actually had Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins, man, came to Dallas to meet with me to talk about protect yourself at all times. And we had, he stayed here for about a day and a half. And we just talked about the business of boxing and how messed up it was for the fighters. We couldn't get on the same page in regards to working together, but we had a lot of steam starting off, and I wish we could have made things work with Bernard, man.
Right.
I think it's been a snowball effect as far as like getting the company and the message to where it is right now, but. I think with Bernard would have been on board, man. It would have skyrocketed immediately, I believe. But I'm used to kind of going on journeys myself. But for me, what I learned as an NBA sports agent was the structure and order that the PA, which is the Players Association, the union for the fighters, the players, the structure that they had for the athletes, man, it was something that I'd never seen before. So of course, like naturally, I wanted to know what was the union like in boxing and what was the structure. And then when I found out there was no union for boxers, there was no council or anything to educate the fighters, I had a choice to make, man. And, even though I was still managing at the time, I help people. That's just something that I do, man. I help people, and sometimes I don't charge anything, man. I just do what I feel is needed just off the strength of my heart. And that's what I did with Protect Yourself at All Times. So, I didn't take everything I learned from the seminars for being a sports agent, because boxing and basketball do not translate. Like NBA players are employed by the NBA, you know what I'm saying? Boxers are not employed by anyone. You're not employed by your promoter. You're not employed by your manager. You're not employed by your trainer. These people may give you they may give you advice and they may give you guidance, and sometimes it may feel like you work for them, but the truth of the matter is, if you look at whatever contract you may sign with any of these entities, I guarantee you at the end of your contract, there's a clause that's stating that you are an independent contractor.
That's right.
And the promoter or manager or whoever, they don't take care of your taxes or anything of that nature, man. So, that's the first thing that fighters have to understand. I'm a business owner, like I'm an entrepreneur. So I feel like, and I'm not going to say boxing fails the fighters, but I just feel like there's no system in play. And I hope that Protect Yourself at All Times becomes that system to help fighters transition from amateur to the professional ranks. And that's why I break down Protect Yourself at All Times. The first chapter is boxers or business owners. So I help you understand that you are a business owner. Your name is your business. That's your company.
That's right.
And you are you're an entrepreneur. You're an independent contractor. You do not work for anyone. And then from there, I talk about knowing what you're signing in regards to your contracts.
Right.
Me personally, a lot of people don't feel this way, but I still like you should only sign contracts under individuals that are paying you. So when I say paying you, meaning the service that you're providing for a promoter, they contract your service to come in and fight. And whether you win, lose, or draw, they hand you a paycheck for your service. That's the transaction between promoter and fighter.
That's right.
Now, in regards to your management, that needs to more so be an agreement, because you're hiring this individual to be your spokesperson and to get you opportunities to make money. So once you do get paid, you can pay them. So I just try to break things down in the simplest form to help guys make a smooth transition from the amateurs to professional, man. So Protect Yourself at All Times is going to be important. Even when I'm dead and gone, it's still going to remain, and it's still going to be important for the young fighters that are coming from amateur to pro.
Well, not only in book form, but also in, YouTube form and video documentary form, and then hopefully on the Fight Network as a series, in a form there as well. And so it's just an incredible thing. In your book, what you didn't cover, covering some of the things that are in the book, there's also, for y'all listening out there, there's accepting money for management, loans, right? There's boxer management agreements. There's signing with promoters. There's, a chapter on ego, understanding your money.
I think to me, the two most important chapters: understanding your money and paying taxes. I break down what $1 million looks like after paying your manager, paying your trainer, and $1 million don't look like $1 million after you pay everyone. And then
so Adrian, what I wanted to say, you're right, is you probably talking about halving that. Once you get through all your expenses, you're probably somewhere around $500,000, maybe even less. And the fact of the matter is, the one thing that, like, if you come from business, then you understand, right? Like, if you are in business and you invest you say you invest $1 million, you're investing $1 million to make 450,000. You're investing $1 million to make 2 or 3 or 4, $10 million, right? So the idea here is that when, first of all, boxers must understand that they work for themselves. You're an independent contractor. If you want to create a business, actually, you could even say that the fighter should be giving the contract to the promoter for the services that they will render versus the other way around. I'm saying you could, right? Or you could, right? If I'm the boxer, I could come to you.
I'm with you. I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
It's just but the lack of education, though, man. And that's where the disconnect is at. Like, you could want for that, or you can try to angle that, but if you don't have the education that the promoter has, or if you don't have the knowledge of negotiation or the power, like you wouldn't know how to do it. And you got to understand, most of these kids come from inner city. You know what I'm saying? Most of them, they don't come from a background of, they were taught business or they were taught different things as far as negotiation goes.
Correct.
So if you put them at a conference table with individuals that have CPAs and lawyers and stuff like that, it's uncomfortable for guys that don't really know the basis of business. And man, that's what I'm looking to change in regards to protect yourself at all times. If you have the education, man, if you know better, then I strongly believe that you'll do better as long as you have the information.
Well, I've dealt with fighters that can't even balance a checkbook. Don't know how to do basic math, like third grade math. Right. I've seen fighters like that, and the thing about that is it's so unfair. To have these individuals in the sport coming up the ranks. They come from amateur. They get flipped over to be a professional fighter. They have no schooling, no education, no knowledge, nothing. And here they are in the professional ranks. And if they don't have somebody, a team around them that walking them carefully and protecting them, then what you end up with is just this exploitation of the athlete, and it's really tragic. So, that's the reality of it, right? And it is what it is. But even taxes, like, you get paid just basic math. Walk us through, for the folks that are listening in, the fighters out there and the others that are out there. Most people understand how the tax man works when you're an independent contractor, if you are, but few people have that knowledge, right? So you're an independent contractor. They pay you a flat fee to fight. You take that money, you put it in your bank. Now what?
Yeah. So, and maybe is this, if you're an employee somewhere, like we used the NBA players earlier, the NBA players, the taxes are already taken from their checks. Like when they get paid after games or whatever,
right?
They don't get whatever it is that they essentially signed for, that's broken down over the months or whatever.
Right.
The taxes are already taken out because, again, they're employees. But for boxers, And if you if you sign for $1 million, then after the fight, as long as if there's no deductions that were taken from whether it be licensing or whatever it may be, you are handed a check for $1 million. But like you do have people to pay. You have overhead expenses in regards to trainer, manager, whatever. But you also have to understand you have to pay your own taxes. So instead of going to spend like crazy, you have to set money aside,
right?
Understanding that, man, I'm gonna have to pay taxes on this $1 million. You can write off businesses or whatever, but as an independent contractor, you have to set money aside
40%
to pay taxes. Yeah, to pay taxes on. And honestly, like you're not protect yourself at all times is not trying to teach fighters to be a CPA.
Right.
You got to go to school for that. So what protect yourself at all times is doing is encouraging guys like, look, you are going to need a damn good CPA to help you out, and understand that after every fight, the pretty much the first person you need to be talking to is a CPA, and they can help you understand, look, you made this, but they're going to take this in taxes. So it's best you put this away, don't spend it, and just know that you'll be paying that in taxes, man. So taxes can be confusing. It's not just for athletes, it's been confusing for entertainers and different politicians, as we see. So it's like with taxes, you need to make sure you have a damn good CPA.
Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about $1 million, you got to take 40% out for the tax man, right? You really at $1 million, you should already have an LLC, right? You should already have a company established as an LLC, so that you're basically insulated as well as an organ, and they can't come after your personal assets. But that's a whole other level. That's a whole, I'm sure, Mr. Spence has that. And I'm sure, when you're dealing with that level, these folks have those kinds of things set up. But then you also, one of the things that blows me away now, more than anything, right, is that if you are an independent contractor, you are required by law. I mean, every state is different, but I know in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and New York State, you're required by law to carry your own health insurance. You have to show that you have your own insurance. And really, the promoter or the entity that's hiring you has to have that on file in order to consider you an independent contractor. And I need to ask you, have you ever run into that with any of your clients where they haven't done that? And because you're not really considered an independent contractor, even though you call yourself one, from the standpoint of the law, unless you have your own insurance and you have your own, EIN number, and there's a series of things that you have to have as an independent contractor or an LLC, right?
Yeah, I think that's the most difficult thing, especially when you start talking about like insurance, because most companies are reluctant to take on guys that are in combative sports. I mean, that's why they ask you the questions like, do you ride motorcycles, and do you box, or any of those? Like, they're really reluctant to take on guys like that, and if so, it's a lot of money that's involved to be insured. So. That's still an uphill battle for professional fighters to get insured. But, I encourage all fighters, and I'm doing it right now, encouraging guys to look into the LLC, whether it's your name, John Doe LLC, or whatever your nickname may be, to have an LLC on hand to protect yourself. And then also, as far as like taxes go, it can really help out. Because if the check, your fight paycheck is made out to your company, then you can pay yourself based off of what's making the company. So but again, like, I'm not a CPA. I know a lot, but I don't know everything that a CPA would. So that's where you have to seek out as like pretty much your whole company, as your own man. You have to seek out individuals that can help you out financially and legally with contracts, So you are protected. No disrespect to anyone's manager, unless your manager has passed the bar and they are a lawyer.
Right.
You always want to make sure that you double check things. And again, I doubt that your manager is going to be a CPA. So you want to seek out a CPA to help you out with finance.
You'd be very lucky if you had a manager that was a CPA and an attorney at the same time, right?
Exactly.
Because you need both of those.
Very lucky.
Or you need, the thing is, I mean, you can get a lot of this stuff handled with people that, people can point you in the right direction to just get things straightened out. It's really, the point of this podcast today is not to overwhelm you with the complexities of it, but rather just to say, it's real important to make sure fighters, make sure you have proper management. Make sure if you're a professional fighter or an amateur going into becoming a professional, make sure you have people that are around you that can manage you and work with you to help you navigate through these very complex issues that if not dealt with can find you pretty much in harm's way, which is the point of the book. Protect yourself at all times, right?
Yeah. My advice would be, man, before you do anything, get educated. Like read the book or watch the documentary or listen to the podcast. Get the information first,
right? Then
go from there. Because there is a lot of guys that come into the industry like there's no union, there's no council. So with the union for other sports, they regulate the agents, which do the same thing as managers in boxing, which are negotiate contracts for the athletes. So in the NBA has the National Basketball Players Association, which that's the union for the athletes. And the athletes and the union, they certify the agents, and then they also regulate how much they get paid.
That's right.
So they're really protected from a union standpoint. But for boxers and for boxing, there is no union to protect you guys. There is no regulation. So you got a lot of guys that just come into this business. They don't have any knowledge. They don't have any education. They don't have any negotiating experience. But you guys as fighters sign contracts under these guys, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. So before you do anything, I just ask all the fighters, even the parents or the spouses, girlfriends or whatever, get the information first, get the knowledge, then go from there.
Right. No, absolutely. And so Adrian, let me ask you, what do you think about, so let's talk about the UFC. They don't have a players association, but they certainly have everything encapsulated within the actual sport itself, in the UFC's case. So let's talk about the comparison between the UFC and how they're set up, and then boxing, and what could we create? What is it that's missing, and what should be created in the sport of boxing in future years?
Honestly, Al Heyman created it when he started the PBC. It's the only, and Al in himself is either you can use the G word with him. I think Al Heyman is a genius.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not too fond of the contract that he has got signed, but I do believe that he's a genius in regards to the structure of the PBC. The only thing that is a hole in the entire association, essentially, is that he doesn't have all the promotional companies under the PBC. So think about it like this. The Premier Boxing Champions is looked at, or should be looked at, as the staple of boxing. So when you hear NBA, you know that's the National Basketball Association. So when you see the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers playing against each other, that's all under the NBA model.
Yes.
So for boxing, if PBC had under them Top Rank, Matchroom, Golden Boy, Main Events, all the big name promotional companies, then we can get these big name fights. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford can fight at the snap of a finger because it's all done under the Premier Boxing Champion model. So I feel like Al Heyman pretty much presented boxing with what it needed. It's just to make that move successfully, you either have to have all the fighters, which he essentially does, or you have to have all the promotional companies under you. And honestly, I really feel like with everything that happened with the pandemic, and a lot of promoters are hurting right now. You may see in the next couple of years, man.
Yep.
I don't think Bob Arum is going to do it, but you may see in the next couple of years, all these promoters getting under the Premier Boxing Champion model, and we finally have an association, a staple for professional boxing, which will make everything easier. We can have a union at that point to counter the Premier Boxing Champion, and it will be great from there. So I feel like that's what the boxing needed. Is just it has to be done a certain way. But kudos to Al Heyman and Sylvia Owens and that entire team for starting something that's definitely monumental for the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely shout out Al Heyman, because you're definitely ahead of your time. And I think the players, the fighters in this particular case, it's about time that this sport moves into the 21st century, man. It is about time that, for real, that fighters are represented properly, that there's players, there's I mean, I don't see why there can't be a union. I really don't. There's just so many things that, the athletes would benefit from. And I really feel like Bob Arum, don't count him out, because I really feel like if it works and if it makes dollars, then it makes sense. Right. And I think that all of the promoters, all of the top promoters, if it makes dollars, then it makes sense. So it's really a matter of them all coming together and saying, hey, we want to do this. We want to do it for the fighters, and we want to do it for the structures that would be put in place so that we don't have fighters, sleeping on street corners after their careers are over. That they're actually, taken care of. Their health insurance is taken care of. They have pensions. They have, ways to make career transitions. I mean, there's so many things that could be done for these incredible athletes that put everything on the line for us, Yeah,
I think, Bob is in his 90s. Al Heyman is in his 60s, and the older guys typically are like kind of stuck in their ways, so to speak. So they're focused on what's been working for them, and that's what they do. So trying to do something that's totally against the grain, I really feel like the younger blood, the next generation of guys will kind of help turn their corner to transcend boxing to more of an association to where it can become hopefully a multi-billion-dollar association like the NBA, like the MLB and the NFL, but it has to come together as an association first. And I feel like, hopefully we're allowed to see it, but I don't think we're too far from it. It's just the point of people thinking forward rather than thinking within their own ways.
Right. And whatever's in our way, whatever we have in our way, whatever the promoters have in their way. I mean, it's not just listen, a lot of times when we have these discussions about an association of some sort, or, even like so many belts, there's all these belts, and nobody fights anybody because they're all by different sanctioning belts. And, I mean, we talk about these things as if the fighters have nothing to say about it, as if the fighters don't have anything to do with this. And at some point, the fighters are going to have to come together too, Adrian.
True. No, and honestly, if I had to, I don't want to say pointing the blame, but the fighters have to want more. The fighters have to want the education. The fighters will have to want the union. Like, everyone will have to come together essentially, and the top guys will really have to take it seriously for the guys that are at the mid-level of the totem pole and the guys that are at the low end of the totem pole, for them to actually benefit from everything. So no, you're definitely right. The fighters have to really band together for this thing to work, because like I often ask a question as far as like the title sanctions go, to create all these different belts, and even with the even with the sanction fee, I believe it's 3%. I don't know if it's went up since I got out of the game, but even the 3% sanction fee, my question is, okay, who from the fighter side, who approved any of that? Who approved that there was going to be another belt made by the WBC? Who approved the 3% sanction fee to fight for a world title? You bust your ass to beat everybody in your division, and you work hard as I don't know what to beat everybody to become the top guy. And then when you get there, it's like, hey, congratulations, man, you worked so hard, but we're going to need 3% of your purse for you to fight for this belt. Like, think that the NBA Finals is going on right now, and I think LeBron James is probably one of the highest paid players on the court right now. If you have to, everything that you go through in an 82 game season, if you told LeBron James right now, like, hey, I know you guys beat everybody to get to this point, but we're going to need 3% of your $40 million per year for you to play for this ring. LeBron is going to have a huge problem with that. So will his teammates. So I'm curious to know who did whether it's the WBC or the WBA, who did the higher ups talk to or consult with on the fighter side of things to say, yeah, we're going to make a franchise belt, or we're going to make this new belt. Who approved it on the fighter side of things? Right. So, things like that. The fighters have to come together to have a voice in this sport. That's where I'm getting at.
No. You know what? That's the quietest voice in the sport is the fighter. The fighter, the fighters have to speak up. They have to be in communication. You made a really great analogy. You said something that was really great. If you on your website, you made a comment that I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like, the best thing about being an author is that your words live forever. Right, and there's something to that, because here's what I feel about that. Everything that happens in the world happens in language, and when language is happening, when language is happening, when people are talking, people are communicating, things happen, big things happen. Right. True. And so, but in this sport, what I've observed over many, many years in the sport is that the fighters just fight, just fight fighters. But the fact is that there comes a time where the fighters really have to be part of the state. Like, the state of boxing is not good right now. And the players and the fighters, I'm calling them players, listen to me, but the fighters, we'll call them players for the sake of this conversation, right? The players have to band together. I don't know if it's state by state, if it's region by region, if it's just the U.S. or if it's just a world organization. But at the end of the day, boxing is one of the only sports. Like, the NBA is the United States. It's basically in the United States, the NFL, etc. Boxing is around the world. So you would almost need like the World Boxing Association, or, the WBC, and you would need people to come together to say, hey, this makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, true. And I think that the top guys also, I mean, just look at how influential Anthony Joshua is for the European market. And I think about Will Tomlinson down in Australia, who's very influential down there. And in the States, you can take your pick. You have Errol Spence, who, I know him personally. I've done business with him for years. Very smart, very savvy guy in regards to business. He'd be a great spokesperson for the States, or even an Andre Ward, a guy that's retired now, but who knows the business. He'd be a great guy here. In Canada, you have Donnie Stevenson, and in Mexico, you have you can just continuously pick guys that have a voice, have respect in the sport, that can speak on behalf of the fighters, and they can come together and just politic on behalf of the fighters and just be that voice that currently the fighters don't have, man. Again, we're talking about something that may take some years to bring together. But like you said, I totally agree with you, man. A conversation, like the language is being started, it can bring together some beautiful things. So for me, that's why I'm putting so much into protect yourself at all times. Maybe this is just the conversation starter, and I'm not by any means comparing myself to Dr. Martin Luther King, but his I Have a Dream speech. He even said, I may not get to the mountaintop with you, but I want you to know that I have a dream. And from my standpoint, I may not get to the mountaintop with you in regards to protect yourself at all times, but like my dream of what this could be for all fighters,
it's incredible.
I think it'll continue on after I'm gone, man. So I'm excited. I think you can hear my passion, but I'm excited for what's to happen with everything.
And I will tell you that you have my passion too, and I'm as excited about it as you are, because I've been in the sport a lot of years, and I have very seldom ever come across a person that is so authentic and so truly focused on making a difference for other people, particularly the fighters. And I think this could be one of the best things that could ever happen in the sport of boxing. I take great pride in my place in the sport and what I feel I contribute to the sport when I work with people, and the difference I make in the lives of the fighters that I have an opportunity to work with, or the teams. But in the end, it's not enough. It's not enough when you're sitting when you're inside a sport and you're watching stuff go down, even when it's not happening to your fighters. You're watching it happen, you're hearing it's happening, and it's like something's got to be done. So anything that happens on that line, I'm telling you, Adrian, you have my support. If there's any way that I can help, that I can be part of that conversation, and I can be able to make a difference there, you got me. You got me in. I'm in.
Hey, I gotta admit something, because you, and I appreciate you thinking of me every time you complete a podcast. And I saw you had Cornflake on, and he knows a lot about business in the sport of boxing.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I follow your podcast, but I have to admit, I was waiting like, yo, when is Mark gonna ask me to come on the show so we can talk about business? I was waiting, man. I'm glad I got my opportunity, but I was waiting to see, like, okay, we chopped it up before, and I know he's doing the podcast. He sends me every episode. When is he gonna ask me to come on so we can talk about everything? So I'm glad that we finally got together, man. But I'm just like you have me. But I'm glad we're working in unison with each other, and it's rare that you find good people in this business, man, that are not looking to just make a buck any way that they can, but to actually look to help out people and the fighters, man. You don't find it much. So glad to know that I have a brother in arms in the Pennsylvania area that can help out.
Oh yeah, you certainly do, Adrian. And you know what? Just to touch on your point of asking you, just like you were wondering when I was going to ask you, the truth of the matter is I wanted to make sure I had the right time, and it was coming off the right podcast to actually just needed to come together in the right way to have you on, because you're such an important person in the sport of boxing, and you're certainly someone that I look up to and someone that I admire what you're doing. And, I wanted to make sure that when I had you on the program that we were able to do something that would really be helpful for the fighters, and we can point them in the right direction for where they can go. They can get the book. I know you can get your book on Amazon.com. You got, can you just give us a shout out of a couple of places where we can get the book? And
you can get Protect Yourself at All Times on, as you said, Amazon.com, but you can also go to BarnesandNoble.com, and you can order from Barnes and Noble. And I'm going to do an audio book for all of my books going backwards. So you'll actually probably within early 2021, you'll be able to get the audio book for Protect Yourself at All Times, and actually listen to me kind of speak the language that you will read in the book. But there's also a podcast that I have that's on Apple, which I did with Everlast, but I feel like it's a little bit outdated. I did it in 2017, so some of the things I talk about is kind of out of date. So I actually want to do another podcast that could be more updated. But please get the book. Now start with getting Protect Yourself at All Times, the guide for professional boxers. Get the book either on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com, and like read it, man. And I also have on YouTube, there's Protect Yourself at All Times. I call it the Infomentary. It's about 16 minutes long. It's featuring Willie Monroe Jr. and a retired fighter from here in Dallas by the name of Tony Mack. And I also have an attorney, Adrain Clark, who's on the video, just talking about intellectual property and the brand of the fighter, man. So go watch the Infomentary just to get the knowledge. Once you get the knowledge, you'll know how to move from there, man. Right.
No, man. It's just been a compelling conversation, and I know that we'll work together again. I'll have you on the podcast again, because even just getting into image and marketability, and just the fighters, controlling the fighters' images and libraries and things like that. I mean, we could go on and on, man. We could chop this up for days.
Right.
For days, for real. And it's just been a pleasure to have you on the program, man. And I just want to thank you for being on the Boxing Breakdown. And once again, if you haven't been to Adrain Clark's website, it's adrianclark.org. And you can go there and check out all his books. He's got 5 books, right?
I'm actually, I'm gonna give a sneak peek on your show, but I'm actually announcing my 5th book tomorrow. As I go to Houston, I'm gonna announce my 5th book. But this is more so a specialty book. It has nothing to do with sports or entertainment, but this is my 5th book, will be released February of 2021. But I have 5 books now under my belt, man. So it's been a good journey.
That's what's up, man. Well, God bless you. God bless your family. I hope to see you soon. When you come up to the East, when you come up to Philly, you better give me a call. We'll get together and have dinner. And it's just a pleasure, man, for real.
Yeah, man, this is my direct cell number. Lock it in, man, and feel free to text me anytime. And please continuously keep sending me the podcast. I think this one is going to be really great for all the fighters. So I'll make sure that we push this as hard as possible, because I feel like the last hour that we've been on this call, there's a lot of informative things that could help out young fighters and old fighters, man. So this is going to be really good.
Yes. And with that, I just want to say thanks again for being on the program. And for the Boxing Breakdown fans out there, thank you for listening and being with us again on another episode of the Boxing Breakdown. And until next time, peace and love. This is your host, Mark Roxey, and I'm out.
Peace out, man.
Peace.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxey and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxey.